Imagine you're walking down a busy city street, right? And you spot this brand new storefront.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
The door is this massive, heavy, completely unmarked slab of dark oak. You push it open, and inside, the lighting is it's incredibly moody, cinematic almost.
No, like one of those hyper-minimalist boutiques.
Exactly. It smells faintly of like expensive sandalwood. You got this cool ambient jazz playing in the background. But as you look around, there are absolutely no products.
Wait, no products at all?
None. No shelves, no price tags, just this sleek, glowing neon sign on the back wall that says, "We elevate your everyday."
Oh, I hate that.
Right. You probably stand there for about 5 seconds, feel completely confused, maybe a little suspicious, and then you just walk right back out the door.
Oh, you'd bounce instantly. I mean, we might tolerate that kind of, ambiguity in an art gallery, but we absolutely despise it when we're trying to figure out what a business actually does. We want to know if we're in the right place, like, immediately.
Exactly. And yet online, companies build these heavy oak doors all the time.
Yeah.
Think about the last time you visited a company's website, and within 5 seconds, you just felt totally lost.
Yeah, you end up scrolling, clicking around, trying to decode all their corporate jargon.
And ultimately, you just leave. So today we are analyzing the exact anatomy of a perfect website. To pull this apart, we're drawing on a highly insightful and honestly pretty brutal live webinar from BX Studio.
Yeah, brutal is definitely the right word for it.
It really was. It featured marketing expert Harry Dry and organic growth director Nikia Griffith. And they essentially sat down and did a live roast of real marketing websites.
It was basically a masterclass in tough love. And it's so necessary because when you are too close to your own project, you just stop seeing that heavy oak door.
Right, you're blind to it.
Totally. You've spent months building the thing, so you just see the beautiful sandalwood interior and the neon sign. You forget that the user is stepping in off the street with zero context.
So our ambition for this deep dive is to extract the absolute best practices for copywriting, for conversion, and for SEO from these live critiques. We want you to be able to apply these lessons to your own projects the second this finishes.
Yep. Whether you're building a startup from scratch, running a freelance portfolio, or, just trying to communicate a big idea clearly online.
Right. You need to pass what we're going to call the 10-second test.
The 10-second test, because every single website journey starts with that first impression. And the most common trap companies fall into, especially design-heavy companies, is prioritizing aesthetic coolness over fundamental clarity.
It's form over function.
Exactly.
Right.
If a user has to burn mental calories just to understand your basic premise, they are gone.
The first example from the webinar that really drove this home is a branding agency called LMNOP. Visually, the site is stunning. The color palette is perfect. But right at the center of the page, their main copy just says, "Good design takes brains and strategy."
Which, it sounds lovely in a pitch deck, right? But to a user, it means absolutely nothing.
It's totally empty.
Yeah, it's a vague cliche. Good design takes brains. Well, yes, I would certainly hope you're using your brains.
You'd hope so.
Right. And the fascinating part of this critique was that users actually had to hunt around the website, like clicking deep into the About pages, just to figure out that this agency specifically focuses on hospitality and real estate branding.
They just buried the lead. During the webinar, they contrasted LMNOP with another agency whose site simply said, "A Berkeley-based naming studio."
Boom. Perfect.
Instantly, I know exactly what you do and I know where you are. Visiting sites like LMNOP, it's like going on a blind date with someone who refuses to tell you what they do for a living.
Because they don't want to be, put in a box.
Exactly. I don't want to be labeled. It might be intriguing for a minute, but mostly you just want to know if they have a job. Why are companies so terrified of being specific right out of the gate?
It really comes down to FOMO, the fear of missing out. Companies, particularly young ones trying to build up a client roster, they think that if they put "We do real estate branding" in massive font, they're going to lose out on the lucrative tech client.
Or the healthcare client who happens to wander by.
Exactly. So they employ these broad, sweeping abstractions to try and catch absolutely everyone. But the problem is, by trying to catch everyone, you catch no one.
You just confuse people.
Yeah. Proper positioning only has to answer 3 very basic questions. What is it? Who is it for? And why you?
And the webinar brought up a company called Peppers as the gold standard for this, didn't they?
Yes, Peppers. They make bras. They're copyright on the homepage. Better fitting bras for AA and B cups.
Wow, that is specific.
It is flawless positioning. What is it? Bras. Who is it for? AA and B cups. Why you? Better fitting, it acts as an instant filter, it aggressively qualifies the exact right buyer, and honestly, just as importantly, it immediately disqualifies the wrong one.
So they don't waste their time. I contrast that clear identity with another site they roasted called Heali. Beautiful aesthetic, but it was just a mess of lowercase and uppercase fonts mixed together.
Oh, the typography was everywhere.
Yeah, and the further you scrolled, the more haphazard it felt. But the core issue wasn't just the fonts, right? It was a total identity crisis.
Yeah.
Their copy bounced from calling the product a dose of wellness to self-care to pain relief. By the bottom of the page, I was genuinely wondering, is this a luxurious spa treatment or is it just fancy ibuprofen?
And notice how you naturally tied the visual mess to the messaging mess there.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Because when your identity is fractured, your design almost always reflects that. The webinar highlighted another company called Poplar that suffered from this too. They were a B2B company, meaning they sell to other businesses, but their site mixed totally different fonts.
Right. They threw uppercase and lowercase letters everywhere without any system.
Yeah, and they had these competing call to action buttons. The experts described it as leaving a Mickey Mouse impression.
A Mickey Mouse impression. I mean, if I'm a business about to wire you $50,000 for a service, your website cannot look like a chaotic student art project.
Definitely not. There's a psychological concept at play here called cognitive fluency.
Cognitive fluency.
Yeah, it's basically the measure of how easy it is for our brains to process information. When we look at a website with mixed typography, misaligned buttons, erratic capitalization, our brains just have to work harder to read it.
It's exhausting.
It is. And subconsciously, we take that visual friction and we project it onto the company itself. We assume, if reading their website is this hard, working with them is going to be an absolute nightmare.
That is fascinating. The visual friction translates directly into trust friction. So step 1 of the 10-second test is passing that identity check. You are painfully clear about what you are, who you are for, and why they should pick you.
Right.
But getting them to understand you is really only half the battle, because the immediate next hurdle is proving you can actually pull it off.
Exactly. Because the second you make a specific claim, the user's brain switches from curious to skeptical. It immediately starts asking for evidence.
Show me the receipts.
Yep. And the pattern we see constantly, and they roasted several sites for this, is that when companies lack hard data to back up their claims, they instinctively default to using adjectives.
And the perfect example of this was Tenzo, which is an AI hiring platform. Their copy leaned entirely on buzzwords. It was just full of verbs and adjectives like integrate, supercharge, and insights.
Oh, yeah.
The headline was something like reliability and scale you can count on.
A phrase that has probably been copied and pasted across 10,000 different software websites. There is a famous writing rule used internally at Amazon that addresses this exact problem.
Which is?
Replace adjectives with data. Adjectives are purely subjective. Supercharge is just a marketing word pretending to do heavy lifting. Data, on the other hand, is objective.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate here for a second, though.
Go for it.
Isn't there a risk of sounding a bit robotic if we strip out all the adjectives? I mean, look at Apple. Apple uses adjectives constantly. Every new phone is magical, revolutionary, stunning.
Sure.
So why can a trillion-dollar company get away with magical, but a B2B SaaS company gets roasted for saying supercharged?
It's a really great point, but it comes down to brand maturity and existing trust. Apple has spent 40 years and billions of dollars proving they can deliver on the word magical.
Okay, that's fair.
Right. When you're a startup or an agency or a mid-level B2B company, you don't have that inherent trust bank to draw from. You have to earn it on the spot.
You're starting from zero.
Exactly. Going back to Heali, their big claim was elevating self-care through the power of magnesium, but they provided zero proof. They just sort of floated the word magnesium out there like it was a magic spell.
Right, just hoping the user nods along. Oh, yes, magnesium.
Right. Compare that to companies that actually visualize their proof. Look at the supplement company AG1. They don't just say, we improve your health. They show clinical graphs.
Literal data.
Yes. They display a line graph comparing vitamin C absorption in the bloodstream against a placebo. Or look at David protein bars.
Oh, I've seen those.
Yeah, they have a visual chart proving that 75% of their calories come from protein, and it's stacked right next to their competitors' charts. When your eyes hit a graph, your logical brain bypasses the marketing filter entirely and says, okay, this is empirical, this is real.
You really can't argue with a bar chart. It's just facts. The same goes for guarantees, right? Another site they analyzed, Buried Winds, claimed to offer outputs teams use. I read that and thought, what does that even mean?
It means nothing because it's a statement, not a promise. A promise is a contract you can practically shake hands on.
And the webinar contrasted that vague statement with the rite of passage writing course, which they essentially held up as the gold standard.
Yes.
Their promise is 5 essays, 1,000 subscribers, 1 lifelong friend. It is deeply concrete. There is no ambiguity about the transformation you are buying into.
And if you don't have a specific product guarantee like that, you have to lean on bulletproof social proof. Like the site Master Hooks had a headline that just read, "Content that converts."
Which is another totally subjective claim.
Exactly. Instead, the experts introduced the ultimate social proof formula. It's 3 parts: time frame plus customers plus outcome.
Okay, time frame, customers, outcome.
Right. So instead of content that converts, you rewrite it to say, last week, 8,000 creators got paid $3 million.
Oh, wow. That is so much stronger. Or, like, look at Stripe. Stripe doesn't just slap a trusted by fast-growing brands sticker on their site.
No, they go way bigger.
They have a live, continuously ticking counter showing the exact percentage of global GDP that is currently running through their software. It is an unbelievable flex.
It really is.
But I'm listening at this and thinking about the startup founders tuning in right now. They're probably shouting at their steering wheels like, I just launched yesterday. I don't have 8,000 creators, and I certainly don't have a global GDP counter.
Yeah, they have 0 data.
It's exactly. What is the survival tactic for them?
Yeah.
How do you build concrete trust when your data pool is basically 0?
It's the classic startup catch-22, and it's incredibly frustrating. But the webinar offered a brilliant workaround using a company called Lemon.io as the benchmark.
Okay, what do they do?
They match companies with developers. Now, in their early days, before they had massive volume, they used radical transparency to project instant legitimacy. Transparency is really the only true substitute for scale.
How does that look in practice, though?
It means removing the corporate veil entirely.
Yeah.
Lemon.io showed real human faces. They showed the exact manually vetted developers on their roster.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they posted their actual minute-by-minute matching times and their unfiltered Trustpilot scores. If you don't have a massive number to show off, show a real face. If you only have one client, write a hyper-detailed 2,000-word case study on that single client.
Show the work.
Show the messy process. When users see extreme transparency, they equate it with honesty, which builds the trust you need to make up for your lack of size.
That makes a lot of sense. So we've got the specific identity. We've got the data and the radical transparency. But here is where it gets dangerous, right? Because you can have the most compelling data in the world, but if you dump it into a massive, unreadable block of text, you instantly destroy your own credibility.
Oh, absolutely.
Copywriting might be written salesmanship, but the layout is the pitch.
The layout dictates whether the information is actually consumed or just glossed over. The most valuable real estate on any website is above the fold. That's the screen space the user sees before they even touch their mouse to scroll.
Thinking about some of these poorly laid out sites we've talked about,
Yeah.
it's like a real-world salesperson knocking on your front door. You open it, and instead of saying hello, they just pull out a giant whiteboard covered in tiny handwriting.
And they just start reading it to you.
Right. In a monotone voice without pausing for breath. You'd slam the door. You have to guide the prospect's eye.
And there is a golden rule for designing that above the fold space. It requires 4 specific elements. You need to explain the value, visualize it, add your social proof, and offer a clear call to action or CTA.
Value, visual proof, CTA.
Exactly. If we look back at Buried Winds, they completely violated this. They crammed massive paragraphs of text into their subheader and literally stacked multiple CTA buttons right on top of each other.
I hate when sites do that. It creates visual fatigue before I've even figured out what they sell.
Exactly. You have to use visual demarcation. Let's say you're comparing the old, frustrating way of doing things to your new, innovative solution.
Okay.
Don't write 2 paragraphs explaining the difference. Put a big, bold red X next to the problem and a bright green tick next to the solution. Humans are visual creatures. We process symbols infinitely faster than we process text.
Which brings us to testimonials. I genuinely groaned during this part of the webinar because of how badly companies abuse testimonials.
It's epidemic.
The standard playbook everyone seems to follow is, like, slap a giant corporate logo on the page, and underneath it paste a massive, blocky, 4-paragraph quote from a CEO that absolutely no one on earth is ever going to read.
It's incredibly lazy design. They rely on the logo to do the heavy lifting, just assuming the user will eventually read the text. But eye tracking studies show we read online in an F pattern.
An F pattern.
Yeah, we scan the top headline, we drop down a bit and scan across, and then we just scroll straight down the left side, hunting for bullet points. We do not read blocks of text.
So how did the experts fix the testimonial problem?
It was a brilliant structural edit. First, shrink the logo. Then take that massive CEO quote, read it yourself, and extract the actual tangible outcome.
Okay.
You make that outcome the bold headline. So instead of a paragraph, the headline is just, Shopify saved 120 hours.
Boom. Clear and obvious.
Right. Then right below that, you use a much shorter, punchy one-sentence quote from the CEO to provide the human context. You are doing the reading for the user. You're serving the insight to them on a silver platter so they don't have to work for it.
Make it effortless. And this ties into how we design features too, right?
Yeah.
The Tenzo site had a section that said, listen to our AI interview a real candidate, which honestly is a genuinely awesome feature.
It's like a great hook.
But the layout was just a static image of a sound wave blob. Nothing moved. It was completely lifeless.
Yeah, if you claim to have a dynamic, cutting-edge product, your layout needs to physically reflect that dynamism. The same critique applied to the Master Hook site. They had a section showing off the creators they work with, but it was just an image carousel of static floating heads.
And in the current age of AI generation, when I see a static smiling face on a marketing site, my brain immediately assumes it's a fake person generated by Midjourney.
Precisely. AI has totally eroded baseline trust. To make those creators real, those shouldn't just be static JPEGs. The expert suggested that when a user hovers their mouse over a face, it should physically flip to reveal their actual TikTok handle.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, maybe a live API pulling in their current follower count, or even a playable clip of their most viral video. You have to actively bridge the gap between your marketing claim and verifiable reality.
Okay, so let's say we've done all of this. We've designed a beautiful page. It's undeniably clear, it's packed with concrete data, and the layout guides the human eye perfectly down the page. But here is the massive twist that the webinar revealed.
Oh, the invisible audience.
Yes, there is a secondary, completely invisible audience that dictates whether those humans ever find your beautiful site in the first place.
Search engine bots.
The invisible gatekeepers. The webinar spent a significant amount of time roasting the technical SEO, search engine optimization, and AEO, answer engine optimization of these sites.
And this is where the wheels really fall off for a lot of design-heavy websites. They look great to us, but they are an absolute nightmare for bots.
Oh.
Let's start with heading hierarchy.
Okay.
This is how your site's code tags your text behind the scenes. The Tenzo blog, for example, have 3 H1 tags on a single page. Meanwhile, Masterhooks didn't have a single H1 tag anywhere on their page. Their main header was coded as an H2.
Wait, pause right there. I have to ask a really basic question for the non-technical listener because this trips people up all the time.
Sure.
If my website's header text is visually massive, let's say it's 40-point font, bold and bright blue, why does Google care if the invisible code behind it calls it an H1 or an H2? If it looks identical to my human eyes, why does that invisible label matter so much to the search engine?
Because Google's bots don't have eyes. They do not see your beautiful 40-point bold blue font. They only read the raw HTML structure. Think of your web page as a university textbook.
Okay.
The H1 tag tells the bot, this is the title of the book. The H2s act as the chapter titles. The H3s are the subsections within those chapters. If you have 0 H1s, the bot thinks your book has no title.
So it has no idea what it's about.
Exactly, so it won't recommend it. And if you have 3 H1s, the bot thinks you have 3 completely conflicting titles, gets confused, and just abandons the page. By messing up those tags, you are essentially refusing to give the library a catalog card for your book.
I love that analogy. It's essentially Braille for the search engine. Without those specific tags, the bot's fingers are just sliding over a blank page, no matter how pretty it looks on my monitor.
That's exactly right.
And speaking of invisible code, they brought up schema markup. Buried Winds had something called FAQ schema hidden in their code, which tells bots they have a frequently asked questions section. But the front end of the site, the part humans see, didn't actually have any FAQs visible.
And that is a massive red flag for search engines. Schema is essentially a direct data feed. It's code you inject to help Google easily understand the context of your content so it can feature it in rich search results.
Right.
But some developers try to game the system. They hide schema in the back end to try and rank for certain keywords without cluttering their visual design with actual text.
So they're basically trying to cheat.
Exactly. But Google's algorithm is incredibly sophisticated at detecting deception. The golden rule of schema is that the back-end code must perfectly match the visual front end.
You can't just invent things in the code.
No, you cannot tell the bot you have an FAQ, but hide it from the user. Google sees that as manipulative, and they will actively penalize your site's ranking for it.
You cannot lie to the bot. But it's not just about tags and code, right? It's also about authority.
Huh.
The webinar introduced a vital concept for modern SEO called EAT.
Yep. Eat.
That stands for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. When Nakia Griffith was looking at Tenzo's blog, she pointed out that it was just a massive wall of text with generic bullet points. It felt heavily AI generated.
Which is a death knell for organic growth right now.
Yep.
Since the explosion of ChatGPT, the internet is just flooded with generic AI fluff. Google is actively trying to filter that out. If you want a blog to rank today, you have to solve the EET problem. You have to prove human experience.
How does Google actually measure experience, though? I mean, a bot can't know if I actually experienced something.
It looks for signals that a real human lived through what is being written about. It looks for firsthand language like in our testing, or
Yeah.
we found that. It looks for unique original imagery rather than generic stock photos.
Oh,
It requires clear author credits that link to real, verifiable bios. It wants original statistics that a bot couldn't have just scraped from a Wikipedia page. And technically, it wants features like interactive tables of contents so both the user and the bot can easily navigate the depth of your insight.
and finally, they discussed internal linking. They pointed out that master hooks was severely lacking here and suggested they aim for about 10 internal links per page. They recommended balancing the bottom of their blog posts with a 3-pack of related reading.
Yeah, think of internal links as the roads connecting the cities on your website. If a page has no internal links pointing to it or away from it, it's basically an isolated island.
Right.
Bots crawl links to understand your site's architecture. If a user finishes an article and hits a dead end, they leave. But if you give them a 3-pack of related articles at the bottom, you are actively inviting the user and the bot to stay on your site longer, index more of your pages, and understand exactly how your topics interlock. It is vital for keeping attention flowing.
So bringing this all together, what is the ultimate takeaway from this BX Studio Roast? First, clarity always beats cleverness. If you try to sound too artistic or cool, you'll just end up sounding confusing.
Yep, no heavy oak doors.
Exactly. Second, specific data and concrete timeframes completely destroy vague adjectives. Your layout is your digital salesperson. Do not let it read a wall of text to your prospect. Use visual symbols, extract the insight from testimonials, and prove your claims.
Make the reading effortless.
And finally, your invisible back-end structure needs to be as beautifully organized as your visual front end.
Beautifully summarized. And remember, knowledge is only valuable when it's actually applied.
Which brings us to our challenge for you, the listener. We want you to put your own work to the 10-second test today.
Do it right now.
Yeah. Open up your company's website or your personal portfolio or even just your LinkedIn profile. Hand your phone to a stranger at a coffee shop or a friend who doesn't know exactly what you do day to day. Give them 10 seconds.
Just 10.
Can they answer? What is it? Who is it for? And why should they care? If they hesitate or if they have to scroll around hunting for answers, you've got some rewriting to do.
That is the perfect crucible for any project.
It really is.
Yeah.
But, as I'm thinking about all these optimizations we've talked about today, the schema, the visual demarcation, the perfect data extraction, it brings up a strange thought.
Yeah.
We've just spent this entire deep dive treating human attention like a mathematical lock to be picked. We're deploying the exact right data points to trust. But as AI tools make it infinitely easier for every single company on Earth to hyper-optimize and perfectly A/B test every single word and button they publish, I wonder if we risk losing something.
Like what?
Do we risk losing the messy, unoptimized authenticity that actually makes human connection memorable in the first place? If every digital storefront becomes a perfectly optimized conversion machine, maybe we'll actually start missing that confusing sandalwood-scented room with the heavy oak door.
Wow. That is a profound tension we are all going to have to navigate very soon.
Something to think about as you optimize your own sites this week. Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll catch you next time.